This is my walk-behind Toro mower. It's a proline 36 with a 13 horsepower Kawasaki engine on it. I bought this 5 years ago, paid about 1,500 bucks for it. It's from the mid 2010s. I don't know the exact year because the data plate is really worn out and I can't get the serial number off it, which is a little bit sketchy, but oh well. It has a newer mower, not mower, motor on it. The motor had 200 hours on it when I bought this machine, so it probably only has about 250 hours on it now. I don't mow every week down here. I mow about every other week. The grass just grows a little bit slower, and I'm not super picky about the grass down here either. I bought this mower for two reasons. The first reason was I didn't quite need a walk-behind mower. I'm sorry, I didn't quite need a ride-on mower down here. And the deck size being 36 inches, I could fit through the gate that I used to have. My new gate opens up to a full width of 12 feet, so that's not a problem anymore. I also bought it because I like the grass catcher on it. It's a little bit hard to find mowers with grass catchers down here. In the fall, I like to be able to bag my grass, and today I'm going to bag my grass because I let it get a little bit too long. I'll be cutting about half of the grass plant down. You're only supposed to cut about 1/3 of it off, so I'm going to have a lot of debris today to pick up. I'm also going to clean out one of my garden beds, and when I blow the walkway clean, some of that debris will be in the lawn and I'll be able to pick it all up. This is the gear drive version of the mower. Of course, you can get most of these in hydrostatic as well. This is the gear drive setup, and it has what Toro branded as the T-bar because it looks like a T. And theoretically, you should be able to grab onto this and rest your hands up here. Well, just using your thumbs, you can theoretically operate this mower with one hand if you wanted to, if you're pushing a branch out of the way. But most of the time, this is all the way forward and pinching your fingers in there, and it's just not super ergonomic. And if I could have afforded to go with the hydrostatic, I would have done that. But for the price and the capability of this mower, it ended up being a pretty good fit. So I'm happy with it overall. Got a new set of tires on it. I put very little work into it. Change the oil about once a year, sharpen the blades once a year, and it's taking care of me. So let's go out and cut some grass with this. So another thing I didn't mention earlier that I really like about this mower is the Kawasaki power plant itself. This is the third or fourth mower I've owned with this motor, and they are just wonderful little V-twins. So if you're like a Kohler guy or a Briggs & Stratton guy, and you're skeptical about the Kawasaki's, they're absolutely bulletproof. I've never had a problem with them. And the best part is when you take care of them, they usually start on the first pull. You choke it, you turn the ignition on, you pull the cord, and you're running. That is it, I think, for the list of pros on this mower. I wanted to talk a little bit about the cons. You probably saw as I was mowing that the mower doesn't make a true zero turn. It simply pivots 180 degrees on whatever tire that you have the brakes locked up on, and that leaves a little swirl on the ground. Now in this grass here, this is mostly Bermuda. It's really tough stuff. It's hard to damage. You're not going to notice the swirls, but where I have the fescue, well, where I'm attempting to grow fescue over here, and where the grass isn't grown in, you see these brown spots? That's from twirling on that locked up tire. Yeah, see the damage right there. So on fescues and Bermuda grass and things like that, you're going to do a little bit of damage with this type of mower. Now if it's your lawn, maybe you don't care, but if you're thinking about getting a gear drive walk behind to mow commercially, that's something you're going to have to think about. You're going to cause damage to customers' lawns, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You could take really wide circling turns at the end of every run, but the problem is you already have to go around the exterior of the lawn twice anyways just to make enough room for the machine. So that brings me into the next con with this machine, is the 36-inch deck. If you don't need a 36-inch deck to be able to get through gates and whatnot, I really don't recommend it. Look at how much longer this machine is than it is wide. Even when I go around the exterior of the lawn twice, I sometimes still don't have enough room to make the complete turn without missing a little bit of grass, and you leave these little puffs all over the place. So if you have a wider deck, like at least a 42 or a 46 or something like that, you don't have to have as much room to turn around, because the width relevant to the length of the mower is a better ratio. Also, with that narrow deck, look at how much wider the machine is than the mower deck. The deck is only about an inch wider than the total width of the machine. So it makes it really hard to get up close to whatever you're mowing around, and it leaves you with a lot of trimming around your beds and such. In my yard, I don't worry too much about it because I don't have very established beds in the back of this yard yet. That's something that is in the future. But in the front lawn, around all those beds that are edged, I have to do quite a bit of string trimming, and I wouldn't have to do that if I had a wider deck. If I had a wider deck, the deck itself would hang over the edge of the lawn while the wheel stayed on the lawn in the turn. Something about effective width versus actual width or something like that. But that's a pretty major downside, and it gets really annoying when you're cutting grass commercially. My last narrow mower like this was a right stander with a 36-inch deck, and I loved that mower, great mower, but I'm glad I also had a Toro with a 53-inch deck. If I had to do all my cutting with the 36-inch deck, just the amount of string trimming I would do would make it a real pain and increase the time that I would spend at every yard. So get the 36 if you need to get through a narrow gate. It's awesome for that. But if you don't, go with a bigger mower. If you're only going to have one mower and you're mowing commercially, get a bigger deck. That's my PSA on that. My other lawn mower at my other property is also 36, and I run into the same problems. It's not just a walk behind mower issue. That mower at my other property is a ride-on mower. It's a true zero turn, and I still have issues with not being able to get close enough to what I'm mowing. So I was looking for wood chippers for the longest time that I could mulch material in. Now, a lot of wood chippers have just like a rotating drum and then a chute, kind of like this one has on the right side. But what I really needed was like a mini tub grinder, and that's what this machine has. It has a rotating drum inside and this screen, and all the material stays in there until it's small enough to pass through the screen, and then you end up with this really lovely mulch. So this is where your loose material goes in. You probably can't see it, but there's a big rotating cam in there that just spins and grinds all the material down. This machine is a Wichita grinder. There's a couple other videos on YouTube showcasing these. I'll make a more in-depth video in the future on this, probably in combination with the compost bins. Every fall it ends up being like a little mini industrialized composting operation between this and the 3 bins that I got going on. This one's got some vines growing on it. I haven't moved it. It's a little bit of a pain to move, so I only move it when I absolutely have to. Right now I'm working on this pile here. This has been here for almost a year. There's a lot of shoveling involved between putting the material in the hopper and then scooping the pile out from underneath. So you get pretty warm doing it. So I prefer to use this machine in the winter around January or February, or in the fall right after I make my big piles of debris. So today I'm going to take the sticks that I picked up and I'm going to use the wood chipper slot here, and then I'll throw a little bit of debris into the hopper so that everybody can see that. I had this machine running just a week ago. I've got a bunch of stable in it so that the gas doesn't gel up, and it should be pretty, well, it's always pretty fun to use. It's got this old Briggs & Stratton on it. It works great. It's 8 horsepower. I had it serviced last year. They put a new spark plug and a air filter on it. They cleaned the carburetor, and ever since it's just been running really good. There's also a ton of mosquitoes out here, so I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to do this. That's another advantage of doing all my chipping and shredding in the winters. There's no bugs. But I'll set the camera up and we'll play with this for a little bit. So the wood chipper function is nice, but the real magic of this machine is being able to take this mix of pine needles and sticks and pine cones and reduce it to this really awesome mulch material that I can either spread in beds or use in the garden, or in most cases around here it just goes into the compost pile for now. Over here is a pile of that same material I just showed you that I made earlier this spring, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful mulch material. I don't know how well you can see it, but you know, it's about 3/4 inch material, and it's great. And it's mostly pine needles. This yard just fills up with pine needles. I also love that every time I take a scoop with the shovel, there's sticks in there too, and the machine just chews it all up, spits it out, and gives me this awesome homemade mulch. As time goes on and I spend more time on Marketplace, I have found similar machines. Sometimes they can be hooked up to the front of a lawn tractor or on a 3-point hitch. But if you're looking for a similar machine that has similar capabilities for mulch making essentially, look for some kind of chipper or shredder that has a big drum on it, or a big grinding chamber like this one has. And see the big grinding chamber in there? You're going to have to get something that's pretty old. I don't think modern safety requirements allow for these type of shredders anymore. If I'm wrong, let me know. Put it in the comments if you can think of a piece of modern equipment that can do the same job that this does, because I couldn't find one, but I have been finding more and more of this style of chipper shredder online. They're just all old. They're all from between the 60s to the 80s. I'll do more of an in-depth video on this later, but thought I'd show off this machine's capabilities while I was out here working on the yard.